Hello, my friends. Welcome back to my channel. We are here in the tack room taking a peek at the winnings from our goat show. So we took 2 girls to the show. No, I lied. We took 4 girls to the show. So, yeah, I'll explain that whole my brain process in a second. But at any rate, so this was our fall show. We have the program there to confirm. We have 1 grand champion senior doe winner. That would be Miss Misty Morning. And 1 senior doe reserve grand champion. That would be Persephone. And then, Lotus and Sock did their job showing up in the ring. So we've got some firsts, we've got some seconds, we've got a grand champion, and we've got a reserve grand champion. So what does all this mean? It means that Misty now has 2 legs of her master champion journey. Lotus remains at 2 legs. Persephone is still Miss Congeniality. She has a lot of reserve grand champions. We just can't seem to get her to the front of the line. And Sock, who, as a youngster, was there really for me to get some information on what the judges thought about her and how her breeding, might work out and what they saw in her. We had some really good confirmation on her. So I am going to take you out of the tack room. I'm going to spend a little bit of time walking the farm and looking at some fall foliage and tell you what we heard at the show about the girls. So take a little trip with me outside into a beautiful sunny day, albeit a bit windy. We're going to check out how the foliage is coming around. And let me zoom out a bit. It's starting to really become fall here on the farm. We've got some color showing up. And so as we take a little stroll and enjoy the color, there's lots of leaves down right now. But my pumpkins are holding strong on the fence posts. Oh, and we've got all the girls up here. Hi, girls. And Bob. Can't forget Bob. There he is. He's such a dork. Hi, girls. Hi, Ren. Everybody's here. They're looking at trying to get as dirty as possible now that they're clean and the show is over. But let's take a quick walk. So at the show, obviously thrilled to death and just absolutely flattered that we were able to take home 2 top prizes, right? Grand champion and reserve grand champion. So Misty and Persephone pretty consistently placed at the top of their class. And the commentary really around both of them from the judges is very similar to what we've heard in the past with them. And that is that, Misty has a presence about her when she walks into the ring. That just grabs your attention and screams, look at me, pick me. And that presence just gives her the edge over a lot of her competition. Next is Persephone. Persephone doesn't have quite the same presence. She doesn't have quite the same strength of personality. And you've seen that, of course, as they interact in the stalls and in the pastures. So she doesn't command the attention the way that that Misty does, but she has a fabulous top line. She has the right ear set. She's got great bangs. She's got an amazing coat. So her conformation carries the day, followed by her coat. And so depending on the judge's focus, sometimes, both of those girls will actually not place at the top if conformation becomes a secondary factor. But in this case, conformation was pretty equally considered along with coat, and that was very exciting. Lotus is, she's fabulous. Her coat is fabulous. She's pulled, in a class of, a large class, she pulled up a couple of ribbons. So, she's still at the top of her class, even at 6.5. But at 6.5, she looks, I hate to say it, right? Like if you think about beauty pageants, She looks older than the competition. Her coat's a little coarser than the competition because it's got some age on it. And so again, even though I think she's stunning and I'd really love to finish her as a master champion, and I think she deserves that, the likelihood is she probably won't get it ever, just based on the results that we're seeing at this show, when I think she looks probably at the best she's going to look from here forward. So that is a shame. I'm a little disappointed about that. But, you know, we didn't get any bad feedback on her, right? Again, kind of complimenting her conformation. She's just losing it in terms of the texture of her coat, her size, the strength of her stance, and how, you know, she almost has a bit of a masculine side to her when you compare her to the other does in the ring. And then last but not least, we have Sock Monkey. So Sock Monkey did not do as well as I would have liked her to do, but did about as well as I expected her to do, if that makes sense. So she pulled a couple of third places, a couple of fourth places, and she was in a very big class. She was in a class with 12 goats in that class. So to pull third and fourth place still, you know, puts her pretty well respected in terms of how she performed in the ring and what the judges saw. But we know, and you've seen it, she has no hair on her neck. So she's got this beautiful coat on her back, her sides. You know, it flows, it's even, it's silky, the texture is perfect. She has a little bit of bangs, not much, but a little bit. She's got a beard, but she's missing cheek muffs and she's missing hair on her actual neck. And that is detracting from the judge's ability to really see her as the whole picture. And I'm okay with that. I had an opportunity to have a chat with one of the judges after the show. You never talk during a show or before a show, right? So after the judging was complete, to really get a more in-depth feedback profile on her, right? As she enters my breeding program, I really want to understand what they're seeing, because sometimes you get, as the breeder, as the owner, you get confirmation bias, right? I look at them and say, oh my God, they're beautiful. They have to go in my breeding program. So what this judge was able to share with me, right, is that structurally, she's almost as perfect as you can get her, which makes sense. Her grandmother got that same commentary. Her mother, Lotus, gets that same commentary. Their confirmation is just spot on. It is her naked neck, and we had some fun with that, right? There are chickens that have naked necks, and so we were teasing her, calling her some names, but you know, that naked neck really detracts from her ability to place anywhere near the real top of the class, right? Because she's not exhibiting the characteristics of the breed, which is to have a full flowing coat top to bottom. Fine. Totally okay with that. It's something that you can't really control. You can try and add coat through genetics, and we do with our buck selection, but sometimes they just don't grow coat in certain places. And you know, like I look at Ren, and Ren comes from stock that both had flowing coat head to toe all the way, and she still does not have a flowing coat anywhere. So yeah, controllable maybe. God, look at that. See, fall color is here. And when you go from this direction with the sun behind me, it's pretty spectacular. We're still pretty green. So anyway, I just had to stop and point that out while I was walking through. We're going to turn around and walk back now that I'm in front of the sun, and we'll enjoy the colors as I yabber on. So Sock, you know, again, she's probably never going to grow hair on her neck if she hasn't grown it by now. Now, hormones might change that. So certainly it is possible that if she gets pregnant and carries babies, that the hormones might help accelerate a little more growth in that area. But the likelihood is it's never going to be in full. However, structurally, right, all other things that are required for this breed are there. And to me, you know, coat is the last thing you add to a goat, right? You don't breed for coat first and then try and get good conformation. You start from good conformation, solid structure, and then build up your coat. And that's what I've done. When you look at my line from JC, who has no coat, actually from Emma to JC to Misty to Persephone, you're adding and constantly improving the coat without detracting from the structure. Well, we're doing that. You did get a chance to see Jezebel before Jezebel moved on to her new herd. From Jezebel to Lotus to Sock, we're continuously improving on the structure, on the breed character, on all of the things that need to be done. Sock just didn't quite get all the bonuses in the coat, in the coat area, right? So that's what's holding her back. And having that conversation with the judge, really, she took the time to look at Sock and you really share with us, like, her legs are straight, her feet are positioned correctly, her angulation, her sloping, all of the things that are required for an appropriate conformation are there. Yeah, some pretty reds here too. So yeah, it was good to hear. It was important for me to hear. It does mean that Sock probably won't go into the show ring again unless something significantly changes with her coat quality. Not even coat quality, because her quality is there. It's coat volume, I guess is the better word. We've got some really good purple reds coming up here. So she probably won't go back into the show ring unless something significantly changes, but she absolutely will be in my breeding program. And we are going to breed her to either one of our bucks, really. The plan is to breed her to Thorn. We'll see if Thorn performs. If not, it will be Phineas. But both of them have buku coat and should help put coat on her babies, right? And she comes from a line that has a lot of coat, so she just didn't get it, right? And who knows, maybe they'll skip a generation. But that is the plan with her. And that was really, that's the upshot of what we got from this show, was the ability to see how the judges look at our goats, hear some feedback on where we can make improvements and where we are doing things right, but still need time. And then comically enough, I got pretty beat up for my showmanship skills this time around. So Persephone went into the ring at one point, and, our job as handlers is to make sure that they're presenting the best that they possibly can present. And that means sometimes you have to adjust how they're standing. You need to move their feet a little bit. You need to get them to really show themselves off. Now, when I talk about ring presence, Misty does that by herself. You don't have to touch her. She kind of struts into the ring and then stands there in the perfect show stack position. And all your job is to hold that leash and not look dumb. Persephone requires a little bit of encouragement to have everything put together. And I failed to do that. And one of the judges called me out on it pretty hard. I did make the change and the adjustment. And actually that happened to be when she won Reserve Grand Champion. So perhaps I cost her some ribbons by not presenting her correctly. So that was kind of funny. It isn't often that the judges will just, flat out say, you're ruining your goat. But that to me, again, kind of is an indication that they can see the quality of the goat, even when they're, standing all slumped over or looking all hunched or whatever it was that was going on that day, right? So really, that's the upshot of the show. I'm super pleased with what we came home with. We certainly did not have the most wins at the show. We certainly did not have a best in show, and you saw the judging for that. You can see the competition and understand why. And I have, no regrets about going. I'm looking forward to doing it again in spring. It'll be with some of the very same goats. Hopefully we'll have a few babies to take with us as well. And I thought, I'd wrap up show season, right? Because you guys have got to be sick of show season at this point, with a quick walk around the farm, quick look at some fall color. Let's see if we can catch some fall color. It's still, like I said, pretty green. And now I've got the sun in front of me instead of behind me, so it may not be making these colors stand the same way they were. We're not quite to peak yet by any means, but we're getting there. And then we've got some bonus kitty cat action. And I'm going to pause it there because I think that's long enough. I really appreciate you coming on the show journey with me. I really appreciate your patience with me as I built up to all the show and then finally got a few show videos out and now results. And we're going to get back to regular programming pretty quickly here. We're going to get back to grooming. I got to wash all the rest of the goats that haven't been washed yet. And we've got to see how the pond did after the nor'easter last night. So we've got some things to do. I hope you are having a fabulous day wherever you are in this world. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Be kind. And I will see you at the next one. Bye for now.